Sunk cost fallacy, the phenomena whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. Hey guys, welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year again. First week of January down. How do you feel? What's the tea? What's been coming up for you? Where do you feel the stress in your body, right? Head space, heart space, and emotional space. Do you feel motivated? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel underwhelmed? Um, are you worried, fearful? I'm throwing a lot of these words at you to see like what your gauge is. Are you at peace? Like, are you content with where things are right now? I am. I was telling my buddy a couple of nights ago. I was like, there's certain things I don't know if I'm numb or if I'm just aware of what it is and I know more of what I want. And I think that might be the thing because, sometimes we are so acclimated or aligned with always having to be the fixer, for somebody else's lack of consideration or another thing's lack of involvement, all the things. We put on the fixer hat. And, the fixer hat kind of comes with this level of anxiety and intensity and also urgency that isn't always your responsibility. And there have been some pieces of truth I've been kind of just parsing through, if you will, for I'd say the last couple of months, right? Certain things I've just been cognizant of. And, when people say let things play out, or people say go with the flow, a lot of times I realize those people are making no effort to participate in the flow or being a participant in playing through things. They kind of just don't put any effort in to anything. And then they say, well, yeah, just going with the flow, letting things play out. And it's like, no, that's a way of saying I don't try. And then when things kind of do end up with no effort on the other end, it's now this idea of like, well, yeah, I was just going with the flow. That's what the flow is. And it's like, no, there was no flow. That's the issue. That is the issue. And, it's just like when you finally catch the thing, you're at peace with it. And the peace comes with essentially being a participant, honestly. I find that my peace in a lot of ways whenever I'm dealing with a difficult situation or just something that kind of is this weird impasse for me, being a participant, an active participant, to my best ability, allows me a level of peace moving forward because I did everything I was supposed to do the first time. And if you operate from that space versus trying to, play the whole cat and mouse game, that I think people like to play a lot of times where it's like, you want all this truth and vulnerability and effort from people. However, you yourself don't feel the need to show up with that energy on the receptive end. And then when the relationship falls through the bottom, oh, well, this, and this. It's like you have all the answers, but you had no action. All the answers, no accountability, right? All the answers, but no awareness of what you were doing to kind of create this end result. I hope this all makes sense, by the way. But sunk cost fallacy is the idea of, because you did something for so long, you feel that it would be a bad idea to not change, right? It's like the people that say, well, yeah, we've been friends for so long, so therefore we just have to keep this friendship going, or we've been in this relationship for so long, so we have to keep this relationship going. When in reality is like the reason why you've probably been friends for so long, or the reason why the relationship lasted so long, is because you've always put yourself in an emotional debt to sustain the relationship or keep somebody else satisfied, right? You've overextended yourself and overpoured and overinvested yourself because there was a lack of investment on the other end. Okay. And you think that that is, it is the norm for you, but it's very abnormal when you think about it. Okay. And sometimes we don't realize the best thing to do is to stop doing. Sometimes participating at a certain point, your participation means no longer participating. That is your participation. Okay. Whereas other people start off not participating at all, or only participating at their convenience. If you're the type of person that's always kind of like pouring, trying to fix, and, you know, constantly trying to tape that leaky pipe, at some point in time, you have to ask yourself, what is the cost of me constantly doing this, you know, makeshift repair, versus just understanding I may need new pipes, or I may need a new sink, or maybe it's time to move out. And all of those are costly. However, what is the investment on the other end? If I move to another place, there may be different things I might have to worry about. However, if this leaky sink was a point of contention for me in a big way, then am I better off, right? If I get a new sink, yeah, it's going to cost me, but is it going to take care of the overall situation? You know, a lot of times we sacrifice ourselves for things that have shown that they or it do not return on investment. And I just had a moment of peace and clarity in the last couple of days, because you know, certain situations or certain things I've just noticed for the last few months, and I was like, yeah, you know, I think I'm good about it. I think I'm all right. And it's so funny, you know, sometimes people are very surprised that you have the ability to kind of just move forward, but they're not realizing the reason why it's so easy is because they've never really invested. So it literally, there's no loss there. You don't feel like you lost anything. Why? Because there was nothing invested. And as you work on yourself and you work through these things, and this has just been honestly my life work, as you start to work through things, like certain offenses they don't cost as much, right? The damage is not as much. And it's such an interesting and great perspective to have, because you're not really, you can be sensitive to things and still not be unraveled by things. You can be aware of things and still not have to make this big act or this big production of it. It's just like, okay, all right, do I want this or no? What have they shown? Is that something that I want? Yes or no? Has there been a willing to compromise? Yes or no? Has there been room for communication? Yes or no? That's why I've gotten to the habit of saying that everything is just information versus understanding that it has to, like, something has to be done about it right away. Like, if something's just information, it's like, it in my head, it's put on my mental desk. It's like, here's some information for you. It's like, okay, cool. I'll look it over and I'll see, where it fits, if this is relevant for now, or is this going to matter later, or if it's just something that I needed to be aware of. Oh, this is a me needing to check the warranty on this thing. Okay, cool. Is it? It's out of warranty. All right. Well, okay. You know, sometimes your participation in a relationship, especially one that does not reciprocate, is out of warranty. What people fail to understand is we don't have a lifetime warranty. They don't have a lifetime warranty. Relationships are kind of subscriptions. You know, if you care, you continuously renew your subscription. And then at maybe some point in time, you want to get something different. I don't want to say upgrade because I don't believe that people are necessarily things that are disposable or even transactional. However, you may walk into spaces that treat you better the first time versus constantly existing in a space where your only responsibility is to make other people feel better and they do not feel any need to show up for you. It could be with anybody, honestly, guys, but the sunk cost fallacy really kind of leans into this idea of, like, your loyalty sometimes is a little lopsided, and you're being loyal for the sake of just that's who you are versus understanding what you may be loyal to and how it's actually costing you in a very big way. In a very big way. That's the thing about patterns, right? We all have them. So if you constantly notice that something is continually happening without any intervention, right? You get to see this is how this person functions or this is how this thing operates. Well, there's your answer. What growth have I experienced from being in this situation that's continually not returning on investment? And it really all does start from just you making a decision to navigate differently. It really does. That's all you have to do is decide, well, what do I want? What do I want to experience? What am I currently experiencing? Are they congruent or no? If they're not congruent, it's like, all right, cool. What am I willing to do about it? And that's where the fear kicks in because people say, well, yeah, I don't know what to do. It's like, no, you know exactly what to do. Like, you are aware of what to do. You don't know what the consequences are. So that's why you say, well, I don't know what to do. Because if I say I don't know, then it keeps me from making a decision that would potentially have consequences. But here's the thing, everything you do has a consequence. You keep existing in relationships that don't reciprocate, there's a consequence to that. Your needs are never met. And also, you develop a sense of very low self-worth. Right? The bare minimum feels like a big deal for you. That's the consequence. We don't realize it because we're so used to the dynamic. However, there are consequences. Whether you do or you don't, there's still going to be a consequence. And what's interesting is that sometimes we'd rather have a low grade sickness, like and continuously drink poison, versus doing away with the poison and creating new, healthier life patterns because that's uncomfortable. So we'll keep ourselves sick. Lopsided relationships really cause disease. Disease. And I always bring it back to self, right? Because relationships require our participation. Sometimes people say, well, yeah, I'm tired of constantly getting hurt. All these people have done me wrong and all this. It's like, okay, so relationships require our participation and also our permission to exist. That's how relationships work. That's first of all. So we have to keep showing up, right? And if we are aware of certain behaviors, etc., and we continuously show up, who is the one responsible for that? We are the common denominator. And if you continuously have the same outcome with different people, you are definitely the epicenter of what's going on. It is not about blame. It's just simply about taking ownership. Okay? And some people don't like to hear that because it's the main thing that holds them accountable, right? If everybody else is always the problem, then I never have to work on myself. And I never have to admit to what it is that I'm doing to be a part of it. So when it comes to sunk cost fallacy, I think it's very, very important to just ask yourself, what am I continuously investing in? How does it feel? What is it doing? What has been the growth? And what does this other person's participation look like? Or this other thing? Sometimes the reason why things feel so good, or the reason why people may look so good and so all the things that we desire, is because we are painting them in that light. Because if we continuously see them in that light versus just seeing them for who they are, then the relationship can be sustained. We have a reason to keep trying. However, if you kind of throw in some honesty about how am I actually being treated, when I stop kind of moving around and always like rearranging the furniture and cleaning and the cooking and the things and if I'm not always in motion and I finally stop, what's in rotation? And I see this in my professional life as well, not just personal. Don't let loyalty be lopsided. Okay? Allow other people to participate. Allow people to show you how they're willing to participate. And be brave enough to make some decisions that may cost you in the moment, but will definitely be an investment in the long run. Stop fearing consequences because they exist either way. Okay. So just something to think about, something I was thinking about earlier. I was like, how do I want to come to you guys today? And that was something I've definitely been toying with, sunk cost fallacy, in short. But in reality, just kind of moving through and understanding, like I'm in a place of understanding that everything that I'm surrounded by, everything that I am invested in, reciprocity. That's imperative. Anything that's not there, it's like it won't last. Okay. So with that being said, take inventory. Okay. Also, just take care of yourselves. Be willing to have uncomfortable conversations. I think a lot of times people just want to default to the whole cutting off, and it's like, that's kind of a cheap way. I talk about these things, but I also am willing to have hard talks too. Um, I'm down for it. Maybe uncomfortable, however, I'm still willing to lean into that. Especially if the relationship matters, right? Not everybody, it's a lot of times you hear, there are certain people that think you should always have a conversation, and those same people are the ones who pick and choose how much effort they want to show up with. So it's like they're still requiring a level of consistency from you that they themselves don't show up with. So you get to pick and choose. But honestly, again, consequences. Everything has a consequence. Be willing to have hard conversations, especially in the connections that you value and that you see some value on the receptive end. All right. No two situations are the same, so you gotta be mindful, right? But be real about it. Be what you seek. Okay. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Coaching is available. Yes, I have. The new year starting off right. So yeah, I have some slots available. The link is in the bio. And if you want to sign up for one-on-one coaching, I'm available. All right. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take flight.